Welcome back to the channel, basketball fans, and to all the passionate supporters of Gilas Pilipinas tuning in from every corner of the globe. Today, we are standing at the precipice of a monumental shift in Philippine basketball, a moment that could redefine the trajectory of our national team for the next decade. We have breaking news that strikes at the very heart of the Gilas program, involving the Samahang Basketballing Pilipinas, the tactical mastermind Tim Cone, the strategic boardroom maneuvers of Kaisado's management team, and a hard, unflinching look at the medical and physical realities surrounding the crown jewel of Philippine hoops, Kaisado. This is not just another update. This is a comprehensive, deep-dive investigation into the seismic changes happening behind closed doors. The headline of the day is threefold. First, the SBP is officially moving towards a completely new style, a radical structural and tactical philosophy that changes how players are selected, contracted, and utilized on the court. Second, Kaisado's agent has already laid out a meticulous, multi-tiered plan for his highly anticipated return, addressing the whispers, the rumors, and the future of his international and professional career. And third, we are going to uncover the real cause behind Kaisado's devastating injury, going beyond the surface-level reports to examine the biomechanics, the grueling schedule, and the hidden factors that led to the darkest day of his basketball journey. Let's start by setting the stage. For years, Philippine basketball has been characterized by its unmatched passion, its reliance on isolation scoring, and a desperate search for size to compete on the global stage. We have historically leaned on the heroism of individuals, hoping that one transcendent player or one naturalized import could bridge the gap between our domestic style of play and the towering, methodical giants of European and American basketball. But the landscape of FIBA basketball is evolving rapidly. The modern game demands pace, space, positional fluidity, and above all, absolute uniformity and commitment to system. The SBP, under the guidance of its leadership and the strategic vision of head coach Tim Cone, has recognized that the old ways are no longer sufficient to secure our spot in the upper echelons of the FIBA rankings. The era of giving special treatment to individual stars, of relying on sheer talent over collective cohesion, is coming to an end. The SBP is laying down a new foundation, a new style of operation that prioritizes the front of the jersey over the name on the back. We have seen this recently with the firm stance taken during the negotiations with Quinton Milora-Brown. There were reports of contract disputes, of take-it-or-leave-it offers, and of the SBP drawing a line in the sand regarding availability for non-FIBA tournaments like the Asian Games. The message sent was crystal clear. Uniformity is a new law. No player, regardless of their physical gifts or their standing in the public eye, is above the program. This hardline stance is a massive cultural shift for a basketball nation that often treats its stars like royalty. It signals a move toward the European model of national team management, where the system is a star, and players are expected to fit seamlessly into machinery rather than the machinery being built around them. But how does this new organizational style translate to the basketball court? With Tim Cone at the helm, we are witnessing the implementation of a tactical style that demands high basketball IQ, unselfish ball movement, and rigorous defensive discipline. The new Gilas style is moving away from stagnant isolation plays and towards motion offenses, read and react principles, and a defensive scheme that relies on collective length and switching. This is why the absence of a player like Kaisado, who provides elite rim protection and a towering focal point in the paint, forces the SBP to innovate even further. They cannot simply plug and play another 7-footer because there is no other Kaisado. Instead, they must adopt new styles of play, small ball lineups, aggressive perimeter trapping, and relentless transition basketball to compensate for the lack of traditional size. Simultaneously, while the SBP is restructuring the national team's identity, the individual journey of Kaisado has hit a critical juncture. The entire nation held its breath in January 2025 when Kai went down with a torn ACL while playing for the Kashiga Alphas in the Japan B League. It was a heartbreaking moment, an injury that he himself described as perhaps the darkest day of his basketball career. The timeline was grueling. At least 6 to 9 months of grueling rehabilitation, missing out on crucial FIBA Asia Cup qualifier windows, and watching from the sidelines as his peers took the court. But behind the scenes, the wheels of sports management never stopped turning. Kai's agent and his representation team have not been idle. They have already formulated a comprehensive plan, a strategic roadmap designed not just for physical recovery, but for a career resurgence. This plan involves navigating the complex waters of his B-League contract, his commitments to the national team, and the ever-present, though fading, whispers of the NBA dream. The agent's plan is multifaceted. It is about timing his return perfectly so that he does not rush back and risk re-injury, a mistake that has derailed countless careers in the past. It is about leveraging his recovery period to rebuild his body from the ground up, focusing on core strength, lower body mechanics, and flexibility, areas that are absolutely vital for a player of his extraordinary stature. And perhaps most importantly, the plan involves a strategic re-entry into the Gilas Pilipinas lineup. They are eyeing specific fiber windows where his presence will have the maximum impact, ensuring that when Kaisado steps back onto the hardwood, he is not just a participant, but dominant force aligned perfectly with Tim Cohn's new system. Yet, to truly understand the path forward, we must look back and confront the uncomfortable truths about the past. What was the real cause of Kaisado's injury? Was it just a freak accident on a random Sunday in Japan, or was it the inevitable result of a perfect storm of biomechanical stress, relentless scheduling, and the unique physical burdens of being a 7'3" athlete? We're going to unpack the medical realities of an ACL tear, the history of his previous ailments like the lumbar disc herniation he suffered with the Orlando Magic, and the rib injury during the Olympic qualifying tournament. We will explore how the human body, especially one of such extreme proportions, reacts to the chaotic forces of professional basketball. We will analyze the sequence of events, the wear and tear, and the systemic pressures that ultimately led to his knee giving out. This is a story about the evolution of a basketball program, the business of sports management, and the fragile nature of athletic mortality. It is a narrative that intertwines tactical X's and O's with boardroom negotiations and sports science. We're going to leave no stone unturned as we break down what the SBP's new styles mean for the future roster, what Kaisado's agent is planning for his ultimate comeback, and the undeniable physiological truths behind the injury that stopped the nation in its tracks. So, settle in, listen closely, and let us dive deep into the fascinating, complex, and ever-evolving world of Philippine basketball. Let us dive straight into the first major pillar of our analysis, the new styles being adopted by the Samahang basketball in Pilipinas. When we talk about new styles, we must separate this into two distinct categories: the administrative style of managing the national team and the tactical style deployed on the basketball court. Both are undergoing a massive transformation under the current leadership and head coach Tim Cohn. Administratively, the SBP is tightening the ship. For a long time, the Philippine national team operated on a somewhat fluid basis. Players were often borrowed from a PBA at the last minute. Preparation times were tragically short, and compromises were constantly made to accommodate the schedules of superstar players. But what we are seeing now, specifically highlighted by the recent negotiations with Quinton Milor-Brown and the handling of the current roster pool, is a strict adherence to a unified standard. The SBP is demanding long-term commitment. They are moving away from the special treatment era. The reports that surface regarding the SBP's hardline stance, presenting standard packages and refusing to bend over backwards to accommodate individual demands, demonstrate a shift in philosophy. This is driven by practicality and economics. The program is looking for players who are willing to bleed for the jersey, who understand that the collective is greater than the individual. This administrative style is tough. It is rigid, but it is necessary if Gilas Pilipinas wants to build continuity. Continuity is the secret weapon of international basketball. Teams like Australia, New Zealand, and the top European nations dominate not just because of talent, but because their players have grown up in the same system, playing together for years. The SBP is trying to artificially accelerate that continuity by enforcing strict commitment rules. Tactically, this administrative shift bleeds directly into how Tim Cohn is designing the team's on-court style. Tim Cohn is a master of the triangle offense, a system predicated on spacing, ball movement, and reading the defense. But in the modern FIBA game, Cohn has adapted. The new style of Gilas Pilipinas is one of relentless defensive pressure and offensive fluidity. Without the towering presence of Kaisado and the defensive anchoring of A.J. Edu, who has also battled severe knee issues, Cohn cannot rely on drop coverage or funneling guards into a dominant shot blocker. Instead, the SBP is adopting a style that requires mobile big men, interchangeable wings, and guards who can rebound. This is where the concept of positionless basketball starts to take root in the Gila system. When you look at the pool featuring guys like Dwight Ramos, Carl Tamayo, and Kevin Kiambao, you see the blueprint. These are players who are 6'4" to 6'8", who can handle the ball, shoot from perimeter, and defend multiple positions. The new style dictates the Gilas will try to run teams off the three-point line, force turnovers, and score in transition before the opposing defense can set up its half-court shell. In the half-court, instead of dumping the ball into the post and waiting for something to happen, the new style involves continuous motion, dribble handoffs, staggered screens, and backdoor cuts. It is a style that requires immense physical conditioning and supreme basketball intelligence. It is a style designed to mask our traditional lack of size by amplifying our speed, shooting, and tactical discipline. The SBP knows that they cannot outmuscle the boomers of Australia or the tall blacks of New Zealand, so they are implementing a style to outthink and outrun them. Now, let's pivot to the second major topic, the strategic plan formulated by Kaisado's agent and management team. When a generational talent like Kai suffers a severe injury like a torn ACL, the immediate focus is naturally on the medical procedure and the physical rehabilitation. But behind the curtain, the representation team is working overtime. In the high-stakes world of professional basketball, an injury is not just a physical setback. It is a business crisis that requires immediate and meticulous management. Kaisado's representation, which has included heavy hitters in the sports agency world, understands that his career is at a crossroads. The initial dream of jumping straight from high school to the G League Ignite and then hearing his name called in the NBA draft did not materialize. The path became convoluted with stints in the Australian NBL, the Japan B-League, and various summer league appearances. The agent's new plan is about stabilization and strategic rebranding. First and foremost, the plan revolves around controlling the narrative of his recovery. The agency ensures that medical updates are released strategically to keep his name relevant without creating false expectations. They have targeted a return timeline, initially eyeing early 2026, that allows for a full, uncompromised recovery. The plan is to ensure that when Kai returns, he is physically stronger than he was before the injury. This involves flying in specialized physiotherapists, utilizing state-of-the-art biomechanical analysis, and redesigning his physical training regimen. Furthermore, the agent's plan involves securing his financial and professional future in the Asian market. While the NBA might still be a distant, flickering hope, the reality is that the Japan B-League has become a highly lucrative and competitive environment. The plan is to solidify his standing with the Kashiga Alphas or another top-tier Asian club. By proving he can return to elite form in Japan, the agent can negotiate maximum value contracts that provide financial security. On the international front, the agent is constantly communicating with the SBP. The plan is to integrate Kai back into the Gilas Philippines lineup, not as a savior expected to play 40 minutes a night, but as a highly specialized weapon within Tim Cohn's new system. The agent knows that international exposure is crucial for Kai's global brand. By targeting specific FIBA windows, like the third window of the qualifiers, the agent ensures that Kai makes his triumphant return on home soil amidst the roaring crowds in Manila, creating a massive media moment that revitalizes his brand value. The agent's plan is a masterclass in crisis management, turning a devastating injury into an opportunity for a physical and professional reset. This brings us to the most critical and perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of our discussion today: the real cause of Kaisado's injury. In January 2025, during a B-League game against the Seahorses Makawa, Kaisado tore his anterior cruciate ligament. To the casual observer, it looked like a standard basketball play gone wrong. A sudden stop, a twist of the knee, and a catastrophic pop. But to truly understand the real cause, we must look at the injury not as an isolated incident, but as the final breaking point in a long chain of physical stressors. The human body is an absolute marvel of biological engineering, but it is not designed to comfortably support a 7'3" frame playing a high-impact, explosive sport like modern basketball. The biomechanics of a player Kai's size are incredibly delicate. Every time he jumps, lands, or changes direction, The kinetic forces traveling up through his ankles, into his knees, and up to his lower back are exponentially greater than those experienced by a 6-foot guard. The real cause of the ACL tear is rooted in cumulative wear and tear and structural overload. Let us review Kai's medical history. During the NBA Summer League with the Orlando Magic, he suffered a lumbar disc herniation, a severe back injury. Why does a young athlete get a herniated disc? Often, it is because the core and lower body mechanics are not properly absorbing shock, transferring the stress to the spine. Later, during the Olympic qualifying tournament against Georgia, he suffered a severe rib injury when Goga Batads fell on him, an injury that restricted his breathing and forced him out of crucial games. These previous injuries are not unrelated. They are chapters in the same book. When an athlete suffers a back injury, their body naturally compensates. They might alter their running gait or how they land to avoid back pain. This subconscious compensation shifts the mechanical burden onto other joints, specifically the hips and the knees. Furthermore, Kaisado has been playing virtually nonstop for years. From the UAP Juniors to training camps in the U.S. to the NBL, the B-League, and relentless fiber windows with Gilas Pilipinas, his body has rarely had the luxury of prolonged 6-month off-season to rest, recover, and build foundational strength. He himself admitted in past interviews that he had no break to rest his body. The real cause of the ACL tear was the systemic fatigue. When a player is chronically fatigued, the stabilizing muscles around the knee, the quadriceps and the hamstrings, lose their ability to contract quickly and absorb force. The ACL is a tiny ligament. It is not meant to bear the primary load of stopping a 250-pound, 7'3" athlete moving at high speed. It relies on surrounding muscles to act as shock absorbers. Because Kai's body was perpetually overworked, because he was likely compensating for previous nagging injuries in his back and core, the muscular support around his left knee was compromised. When he made that fateful movement against Makawa, the muscles failed to absorb the kinetic energy, transferring the entire shear force directly onto the anterior cruciate ligament. The ligament, unable to withstand the immense pressure, ruptured. Therefore, the real cause of the injury was not just a bad step. It was a culmination of extreme height, a grueling schedule devoid of adequate recovery periods, previous biomechanical compensations from back issues, and the sheer, unforgiving physics of playing professional basketball. Understanding this is crucial, because it dictates exactly how his rehabilitation must be approached. He cannot just fix the knee. He has to fix the entire kinetic chain to ensure this never happens again. As we begin to wrap up this extensive deep dive into the state of Philippine basketball, it is vital to take a step back and look at the broader picture. The landscape is shifting beneath our feet. The Samahang basketballing Pilipinas is making difficult, sometimes unpopular decisions to enforce a new style of uniformity and tactical discipline under Tim Cone. They are betting that a cohesive unit playing a modern, fast-paced, and highly intelligent brand of basketball can overcome the traditional disadvantages of size that have historically plagued our national team. It is a bold strategy, but it is a necessary evolution. We can no longer rely on the hope of a single savior. We must rely on the strength of the system. Simultaneously, the saga of Kaisado serves as a poignant reminder of the fragile nature of athletic dreams. His agent's meticulous plan for his return is a testament to the business realities of modern sports, where every setback must be carefully managed and spun into a narrative of eventual triumph. But beyond the PR and the contract negotiations lies the stark, physiological reality of a young man whose body broke down under the immense pressure of carrying the expectations of 140 million people. By understanding the real cause of his injury, the cumulative fatigue, the biomechanical stress of his immense height, and the relentless schedule, we can better appreciate the monumental effort required for him to simply step back onto the court. The road ahead for Gilas Pilipinas is fraught with challenges. The upcoming FIBA windows will test the absolute limits of this new system. We will face international powerhouses who possess both size and systemic continuity. But there's also a profound sense of hope. The adversity of missing key players like Kaisado and AJ Edu is forcing the coaching staff to innovate, to dig deep into the roster pool, and to discover new combinations and strategies. When Kai finally returns, following his agent's carefully laid out plan, he will not be returning to the same Gilas team he left. He will be integrating into a team that has learned to survive and thrive without him, making his addition not just a crutch, but a lethal weapon. To all the fans watching, your passion is the lifeblood of this program. But as the game evolves, so too must our understanding of it. We must have patience with the SBP's new direction, recognizing that building a world-class program takes time and sacrifice. We must support our athletes not just when they are soaring for dunks, but when they are grinding through the dark, lonely days of rehabilitation. Thank you for joining me on this comprehensive journey through the tactical, business, and medical realities of Philippine basketball. I hope this analysis has provided you with a deeper, more nuanced understanding of the headlines. The story of Gilas Pilipinas, of Tim Cohn's new styles, of Kaisado's recovery is far from over. It is a continuing saga of resilience, adaptation, and a relentless pursuit of greatness on the global stage.